All right, so now coming on to the show, Gavin Mueller, now at South Elgin, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So your background's a little bit more interesting than some of the other guys because last year was your first year of high school football. Was it your first year of football, period, or just your first year of high school football?
Yeah, no, so I actually grew up playing football. My family was all a football house. We were always watching football on Thursdays and Sundays and Saturdays and whatever. And my uncle actually played at the University of Wisconsin. My dad played at a small D3 school in between Illinois and Wisconsin. So I grew up, it was my first love. Played my whole life growing up. And then going into my freshman year, I made one of the premier basketball teams in the country, actually. And I had a good starting role on my varsity basketball squad at my high school. So I was like, okay, maybe basketball is my thing. Maybe I should pursue this. And that's kind of the route it took me. While I was playing basketball for those first 2 years of high school, my freshman and sophomore year, I started lifting like crazy and eating like crazy. I started my freshman year at 190, and right now I'm 250. So I ate and I lifted like unreal, just for fun because I enjoyed it, not because I was planning on going back to football or thought it would really help me in basketball, just because it was something I enjoyed. And my high school coach in my old high school, he was like, Gavin, you got to trust me on this. You got to come to one football workout. You're at the time I was 235, 6'6", and I could do a windmill 360. So he's like, that'll be a good tight end. So I go to a team camp with my high school team, and I ran a comeback on air. I dropped the pass, probably looked really goofy running the route. And as I'm running back to the quarterback to give him back the ball, my buddy at the time, um, two coaches come up to me and tell me I have full scholarships to their school. And I was like, all right, I should probably pursue this football thing. So then I flipped the switch. Like when I go for something, I go 100% at it. And I just, for the past, I guess, a year and a couple days, it's been my life. Football 3 times, 4 times a day. And it's all I care about now.
That's a great story. So were you in disbelief? You're probably running back thinking, man, I just dropped this pass in front of these coaches. I have some things to work on, and they tell you have scholarship offers. Were you in disbelief, or what was your reaction to that?
I was like, did we see the same play? But for me, it was always, growing up, you're like, I want to play college. For me, it was, college football and then NFL, and then, but eventually it was I want to play college basketball. So it was just always for me. I just wanted to play college sports, and walking back to a huddle after I drop a pass, disappointed in myself, and two full ride scholarships. Good schools are just they're telling me I could go there, and I was in disbelief. You couldn't take a smile off my face for the rest of the day. I was so happy. It was actually funny enough though. I called my dad and I was like, Dad, I just got two scholarship offers on the bus ride home, and he was like, yeah, right. Like that's just if you want to play football, let's play football. But I don't think you got. And I was like, Dad, I'm serious. And he was very underwhelmed, which was funny because I remember that was I was it's just like that's kind of the mindset he instilled in me, and I learned from him is like always staying hungry. Like, cool, Gavin, you got two scholarships, but let's make sure you're ready for the actual season, the stuff that matters. And I was like, that's kind of when I instilled the mindset. Like I wasn't never chasing scholarships or accolades in like recruitment world. It was more like I just want to be the best football player I can be. So because that's fun to me.
Yeah, so you talked about your weight gain from 195 to 230, 235, now 250. Are you pretty happy at 250? Is that about where you want? Because you start getting close to 270, they're going to start trying to put numbers in the 70s on you.
No, right. I yeah, funny enough, a couple weeks ago at Ole Miss, I stepped on the scale to 260. I looked at my mom wide eyed and I was like, all right, let's lean back down because I was putting on more weight trying to get. The thing for me is I always stay pretty lean because I love to play basketball. So if our coach is like, make sure you guys are doing your conditioning, I'll be like, all right, cool. That's a good excuse for me to go play pickup basketball as hard as I can. So I play basketball in my free time. I don't do anything else except sports. So I'll play pickup basketball and it keeps me real lean. Like I'm usually sitting right around 10% body fat, and I'm 250, 255. It's 10% body fat. So it's perfect. However heavy I can get while staying lean and mobile is just perfect for me.
So, out of curiosity, have any of the schools that recruited you said and maybe you can walk on in basketball or give it a shot or anything? Has basketball ever come up during your football recruiting?
Yeah, I've had actually basketball and track come up to in both of those. You know, more like sub conversations because obviously football is gonna be my thing, but definitely some schools are uh like maybe even CU, for example, one of my final four, there might be an opportunity there. But that's something I'd pursue in there with them. But for me right now it's football. Football is everything, especially in the tight end position. It's hard to come off a hard football season and then going into a basketball season and then probably lose a bunch of weight playing basketball and then try to put it back on in the spring. So it's definitely a hard thing to do, but there's people that do it.
Yeah, or you'll just be an intramural monster.
Something like that. Yeah, that sounds fun. And each school would have a different, if I go somewhere down, south, I'll learn how to surf. If I go to out to Colorado, I'm sure I'll hit the slopes a lot. So, each school has its benefit in my free time.
So you did just you mentioned Colorado. You just visited out there. What was it like meeting Coach Prime for the first time? He's obviously this kind of larger than life figure. So to actually shake his hand and be in the room with him, what was that like?
Yeah, so actually, I was blessed enough to meet him on my unofficial visit as well. So that was my second time meeting him, and the second time you think it'd be easier, but it's like at the end of the day, the let's keep it how it is. Coach Prime is a tier celebrity, A list celebrity. He's got security walking around with him and stuff like that. So when you walk in a room with him, like I remember sitting in this waiting room and you wait for Coach Prime to walk in to come sit down with you guys, and it's just like you're trying to hide your nerves and you're like, oh wow, yeah, no, this guy's legit. And the first thing I noticed though is like he's just personable. He doesn't think he's better than he doesn't act like he's better than you. He doesn't try to look down at people. He's just we're cracking jokes for like an hour. I mean, both times I was there, we had hour-long meetings, me, my dad, and Coach Prime, and then the tight ends coaches. So very personable, like one of the easiest dudes I've ever talked to. Like when the conversation gets a little dry, he is usually him the one who picks it up, which is kind of interesting because he doesn't have to. Like it's a privilege to kind of talk to him. So for him to be so willing and personable. It's pretty cool. And one thing he said to my dad when we walked in is the second time is he goes the coolest dad in recruitment. And I think my dad's gravestone might say that. He's gonna take that with him.
So I think there's always these common threads that sort of unite football coaches. They all have some common things to them that have allowed them to coach at this level. That said, when you talk about Coach Sanders, you got Brian Kelly in your top, Marcus Freeman, Luke Fickle, they're all fairly different, right?
Yeah.
Um, so as you're going through these visits and meeting them, how difficult is it to first of all cut down to four and then try to get to one when the variety of schools and people recruiting you is so wide?
Yeah, no, it's definitely hard, but at the same time, the variety kind of makes it easier, because I mean, whatever you gel with, it's not like, well, I kind of gel with this guy similar. It's like, no, I gel with them, and they're opposites, so I don't really gel with them as well. So that's really how I was able to get it down to four. And then, I mean, from here, I've met everyone I've needed to meet, and gonna take my last OV to LSU. Yeah, it's going to be a hard decision, but for me, I'm very deep in my Catholicism and Christianity, so I'm gonna pray to my Lord and Savior, and I'm sure He'll lead me the way. He's helped me so much. So this is a blessing. This is a blessing to talk to you right now. So, and He gave me these opportunities, so I'm just gonna trust in Him, and I'm sure He'll lead me the right direction, and everything will work out. So it's great problems to have, and I'm just grateful for every day.
All right. So the idea is we're going beyond the stars, right? We're gonna try to get to know a little bit of what makes you tick, although you said you don't do a lot else other than sports. So if you weren't playing football or basketball, is there any hobby here or I'm gonna try to get you a sponsorship, man. Is there something else other than football and basketball that maybe catches your interest?
Yeah, so the thing about me is like I love lifting weights. So,
Okay.
and nutrition. So that's big for me. Like my
Okay.
nutrition, that's a great opportunity for me is because I'm very, very passionate about what I put in my body. And, so like I track everything, I track everything I put in after I work out, before I work out, you know, I I had a little bit of a bigger breakfast because I had a workout right after breakfast. So I had a couple more carbs but then I had a lot of calories. So I took that workout real hard, try to sweat the calories out so I can stay pretty lean. So for me, it's big nutrition. My free time, I'm studying TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Safari, everything. And then when I'm lifting, that's really the reason I do my nutrition so well is so I can lift and work out as hard as I can. So those are my two of my favorite things, football workouts and lifting, which is probably not what you want to hear, but I live a very robotic system. It works for me. That's why I'm able to be so blessed with the physique I have and the opportunities I have is I'm a human robot, and in my programming and my daily schedule. I guess outside of that, I like to take care of my car. I'm passionate with my car. I was fortunate enough to have very successful parents, so I was able to. My dad gave me his old car, and I've been keep taking care of it, keeping it up to date, and added my little touches here and there. So that's kind of what I like to do, and then. Oh, I
Well, my
mean,
gears are already spinning here. So let me ask you this. You're passionate about your intake and your nutrition. Is there a brand of protein or maybe a brand of bar or something that you put in your body that we can go with?
yeah. So for me, I love Fairlife. I drink too many of those a day. I'm gonna be honest, like 5 to 6, but that's really what I'm big in. And you know, this sounds very cliche, because everyone loves this brand, but for me, Gatorade is huge, and not just because fuel your electrolytes or whatever, but while I'm lifting, while I'm working out. I pick different ones depending on what I'm doing. Like if I'm gonna go run routes for the team and I know I'm gonna sweat a lot, I'm gonna get like a real Gatorade. But if I'm going just to lift weights, I'll get like a Gatorade Zero because I don't really need all the sugar. I'm not going anything crazy, but the hydration is very important. And then before I lift, I like to drink, these C4 energy drinks. That's really big for me because they have beta alanine in them. Which has the effect that makes you a little itchy, which isn't for everyone, but for me, it just kind of it wakes me up, which I love. Um, I'm trying to think. I eat this brand of food, which is crazy. This is it doesn't make a lot of sense, but for me it does. It's called dog food. It's not real dog food. It's spelled
Okay.
DAWG food, and it comes in this big bag. Couple pounds, maybe probably a lot of pounds, and you get a scooper. You keep it in your fridge. You scoop a little bit out of it. You put it in a bowl. You put it in the microwave, and you eat it. And it's right. I have chicken and beef in my house at all times, and it's just chicken, vegetables, and that's it. And then I have a beef one, which is beef and vegetables, and that's all it is. It's very lean, very healthy, and I had a little buffalo sauce, and I got myself a meal right there. So nutrition wise, that's really what I'm big into. Trying to think,
All right,
yeah, I
you're
mean,
you're a natural spokesman. That was a really. I'm gonna check out dog food. I already know a little bit about Fairlife and
yeah,
C4, so you got this. You're off to a good start here, I
I
think.
appreciate it. I got to sell it a little bit, right?
So if you are, let if you obviously if everything goes right, you're gonna play football for as long as you can.
Yes, sir.
When you're done playing football, or if whatever happens, and football is not an option any longer,
Right.
what do you want to get into? Do you want to get into some sort of nutrition and personal training, or what do you want to study? What do you want to maybe do once football's done?
Yeah, so kind of going back to what you're just saying, I'm able to kind of speak about things because both my parents own businesses are in sales. So, I'm around people, or person people, or what's it? People persons all
People
day.
person, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, people persons all day. So, I'm used to talking to new people and, trying to slightly persuade people some way, but but keeping it honest, being authentic, that's the biggest thing I learned from my dad is just people love honesty, they sweetening people up and trying to get them to do things. It's a one way to do way of living life, but people just like to be spoken the truth and like genuine relationships. So that's something I picked up from them and kind of tying that back into what I want to do. Someone a couple, I think only months ago, because I've only been playing football again for a year, but someone a couple months ago told me the NFL stands not for long, and that kind of that kind of made me think really about what I want to do after. So if I make it to that level, it's only going to be hopefully it's going to be a couple years, which would be great. So I want to do entrepreneurship in college as my major, and then I want to do a background in finance, or a minor in finance, because this is the way I lay it out. Entrepreneurship makes you the money, and finance keeps you the money in your pocket. And the thing I want to do with entrepreneurship is, like you said, like nutrition training. I want kids to be able to learn the way I did, and I want to kind of teach people kind of what I did to get to my position. And I feel like a lot of the world puts out bad stuff, not authentic stuff. They're just trying to make a quick buck, and then they'll put you in a program that's going to keep you in the program. For me, it's like I just want to educate, kids. Like this is, especially at a young age, like this is really what it takes to get to the next level. And if it's not for you, that's fine, but you need to see it like firsthand. So that's really what I'm big on, because I've had good trainers and I've had bad trainers, and just the authentic truth. Back to what that ties it all back into what my dad taught me. The authentic truth is what people need.
So last thing for you, um, on Thursday, the 14th, on 24/7 Sports YouTube channel, you're going to announce a college commitment. Um,
Yes, sir.
so in a
Wednesday,
pretty
Wednesday.
Wednesday, sorry, Wednesday, you're right.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Um,
sir.
in a pretty short amount of time, you've gone from the guy dropping a pass and getting your first two offers, having not played football in high school, to now you're going to commit. I'm not asking you to give it away, but one of these schools it's going to be a major school, it's going
Yes,
to be
sir.
a major brand. When you think back to this whole journey from that day, even being talked back into football, to now sitting here on the verge of picking one of those schools, what goes through your head?
I mean, once again, relating back to my Christianity background, it's all God. I wouldn't, but I mean, it started from a young age. I have a very interesting, religious background. My parents didn't baptize me. They wanted me to kind of grow up and get the choice to what I wanted to pursue, and I'm very grateful for them, because I joined a Catholic school in seventh grade, and I remember my mom tells me this story. I came back from school one day and I said, "Mom, you didn't wash away my original sin," and I was frustrated with her. So that following summer I took all the classes. I got one of my older buddies to sponsor me, and went to meet with the priest twice a week for the whole summer. At the end of the summer I got baptized and got my first confirmation, or my first communion, sorry. And best thing that ever happened to me. And I really give all my glory to God. That's the most important thing to me. Football could all go away, and eventually everything ends, and that's really what matters to me, is the eternal life. So it's all him. I wouldn't be here without him, and I'm very grateful for him. And then kind of the other thing is I hope I'm making my family proud. It's big for me, and the people around me. Like I want to be the guy that kids say, "Oh, I grew up with him." Oh, I used to play basketball with him. So that's kind of important to me, and I want my parents to be able to tell their friends, "Oh yeah, Gavin Mueller's my son." And that's kind of big to me, and I feel like I'm working towards that, but it's never it'll never be accomplished until it is. So yeah, it's just kind of what flows through my head. It's never really about myself. It's kind of obviously my creator, and then my family and my close circle. Like I want to do something for them. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, that's a heck of an interview. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you
And
for
when
having
you're
me.
a spokesperson for C4, feel free to send me a couple cans. I don't mind the itch.
I got you. You're my guy. I have to.
All right. Appreciate it, Gavin. Take care.
Thank you very much. Nice talking to you.